What is going on? This is Drew Code Sports Talk, and I am your host, Andrew Wright. And over in Clovis, California, is my co-host, Cody Johnson. Cody.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Yes, we are live right now. A little bit late because we were trying to finish watching the last bit of the Padres and Dodgers game. So we appreciate you guys for joining us. We got a great episode talking about Raiders, talking baseball, and then we're also talking about NBA stuff. So that's stuff that I've been excited for. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it. And also, too, before we get started, don't forget to follow us on our social media, subscribe, download the podcast, and also, too, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So let's get it kicked off with the intro. So be right back.
Take off, I'ma break off from the weak minds. They can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life. Better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss. Just my life and free thoughts.
So I'm going to apologize right away. My dogs are very cheeklay today, so they're probably going to be, you're going to hear their little paws or them shaking with their little collars, so I apologize in advance if you hear that. Also, my children are awake, so a lot of things can happen. My wife is upset. The Dodgers lost today, so I just want to apologize in advance. There's probably going to be some noise, but you know what? That's life with that's family life. That's what it is. So
sounds like an active household, that's for sure.
Yes, it is. All right, Cody. Well, man, it's good to see you. I feel like, I've messaged you on Marco Polo and you don't respond back, and so I feel like I haven't talked to you in a while. No, I know you've been busy with work, but how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. I'm glad to be home. Yeah, you're right. The last couple of weeks have been a little bit tiresome with work. Although, did get to see you guys at your final football game that you got to call for the Sanger West Hornets, and AKA
Yes.
now call you the voice of the Hornets because you're now going to be doing their basketball games, which is super exciting. And then we got to host your daughter again for a sleepover at my house for our girls to hang out, and she's exactly like you, man, top to bottom. So so anyways, it was a lot of fun though. So we got to see you guys for a hot minute, and it was a lot of fun, man. And then we had our hearts broken on Monday with the football game, which I know that we're going to get into, but I'm just glad to be home, and I'm glad to be doing the show now because it feels like something is finally stable. I'm not rushing anymore. I'm not running all over the place. I'm finally home, chilling, and finally doing something that I enjoy. So I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, man. Definitely feel that. These last couple of weeks have been crazy for us. So, okay, dog. Sorry, my dog is moving my camera right now. He's like, please pay attention to me. Anyway, so, this was finally the first week where we kind of got to just, chill and relax. And, unfortunately, we still had things to do. I like work, and my daughter. We had a softball game yesterday, and there's some homework that needs to be done on my end, so I had to do a lot of that. Like, we were going to record on Tuesday, but probably pretty good not recording on Tuesday because I was still kind of in my feelings about the Raiders. So it's probably a little bit better that we ended up recording now. So I'm a little more calm. I'm a little more like, okay, hindsight, there's things that we can fix, obviously. And so it's not doom and gloom, but Monday it was definitely doom and gloom.
Oh man, the sky was falling on Monday.
Yes, it was. But you mentioned the Hornets. Yeah, that was their final home game. They're actually still playing right now on their away game. I forget who they were playing right now, but definitely, I definitely miss it. Like, I didn't really think about it when you guys were there, which I appreciate you guys even showing up. That was really cool. And it was a heck of a game, man. It was such a good game. And felt really bad for the kids. They lost on the last second touchdown, which was really heartbreaking. I mean, they lost on a 2-point conversion, but after they scored that touchdown, it was just like, yeah, I mean, it's going to happen now. Yeah, which sucked. I mean, it was really bad. They played well. They played to win that game. I think there was a couple of calls that were a little questionable, but overall, they played to win that game, and unfortunately, they came out as the losing team, which really was heartbreaking because it was homecoming.
Yeah,
it was their first, or it was their last home game that they were going to get to have. And just fell short, man. They almost had their first win of the season, and I made sure that I didn't send it to anyone. I made sure that I didn't say it to anyone who was near me, because I didn't want to jinx it. I was just thinking to myself, with 3 minutes left, I was like, I might be able to get to call their first win. I mean, I'm ecstatic, and unfortunately, they lost. So, but it was super fun. As far as the basketball team, as far as I know, I should be doing that. It's not a for sure definite thing yet, but they said that they want me to do it. So hopefully I will get to, and I will definitely love doing that because, basketball is another one of those sports that I don't mind watching at any time. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Same. And then you guys got like an elite softball team now that I got to go check out from what you were telling me.
Yeah, our team is pretty good, man. I've been playing in right field the last few weeks because my brother-in-law, who really set up the team, he promised to have some guys play at certain positions. So, I'm kind of on the back burner, which I'm fine with. I have no issue with. I told him I'll play wherever. You just let me know where and when. And so that's what he's been doing. And this week he was like, all right, man, I need you to play left field. And I said, you're about to see a Gold Glove left fielder right now. And I actually had a pretty good game, man. I want to say I had like 4 or 5 balls hit to me, and nothing ever touched the ground. So that was good. So I was really ecstatic about that. And I'm the old guy on the team, unfortunately. Me and my wife were the oldest there, so I'm trying to pump everyone up, trying to get everyone into the game. So everyone's kind of quiet to themselves because we don't all know each other like really well. Like I said, it's my brother-in-law's team, so I still try and pump them up, get them kind of hype, and get them ready, and make sure that they know that we're here to root for them, and so it seemed to help a little bit. So
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we didn't come here to talk about me. We came here to talk about sports, Cody. That's right.
Is that what we do? Okay, let's do it.
Well, we were kind of talking about sports, but anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Raiders' loss. Chiefs beat the Raiders 30-29. Tough loss. Raiders go for 2. There was a couple questionable play calls, or a couple of questionable referee calls. Not a couple. There was quite a few. But anyway, overall, what were your thoughts of the game first before we get into the calls?
Overall thoughts, I thought we could have played a little bit better in certain aspects of the game. I felt like that our run game was really, really good. Josh Jacobs was running the ball basically up and down the field against the Chiefs, which basically you had mentioned the last time we recorded. I think it was last week that you said that Josh Jacobs usually feasts on the Chiefs, and he did not disappoint at a career high in rushing. I felt our defense was actually decent, our pressuring defense. We sacked Mahomes 3 times. Although our secondary, again, just could not contain Kelsey, and, there was a collection of other receivers that were basically able to do some damage to us down the field. And, we're going to talk about the infamous call, so I might as well mention it. There was a call that went for the Raiders, with the roughing the passer call. And, did it keep a drive alive for the Raiders to score? Yes, it did. But there was a couple other calls later on in the game that kind of, turned a little bit for the Raiders. The holding penalty that was on the field goal that would have switched field positions for us. The holding on Max Crosby that was on the same drive. In fact, that would have pushed him back even further. So it probably could have ended up in another field goal position. So, overall, I feel like we played very well. I did not like the play call of going for 2. On our last touchdown. I would have much rather just played for the tie. I get the argument of going for 2. I just feel like, it was something that it was 4.5 minutes left. Even if they scored, we would have had an opportunity to go down the field, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Those were my initial thoughts. I think we played really well. Our playoff hopes are looking extremely dim right now. So I'm trying to be optimistic. Every single game we were within a field goal. So it's not like a touchdown. It was a field goal. So we were in every single one of these games, and maybe a couple more plays that we execute and we turn it around, one way or the other. So I'm hoping when we come back from this bye week that we're on that we've made some adjustments and stuff. But, again, it's just the same old frustration. I feel like we're better than what our record shows. And, we just need to see it on the field. So.
Well, I wanted to start with the positives first for the game. On my thoughts on this game was, you mentioned it, Josh Jacobs. I mean, career high in rushing yards. He was huge. I mean, he came up huge for us. He's the reason why we ran the ball on the 2-point conversion, which I honestly had no problem with. I wish we would have tried to run the ball on. We had a 4th and 1. And that's when Davante Adams and Hunter Renfrow ran into each other, and ended that game. But I would have much rather seen Josh Jacobs run up the, right up the middle, and I thought Josh Jacobs was unstoppable. And even though yes, they did stop us on that 2-point conversion, I still felt like overall Jacobs really was getting the best of him every single time. So, kudos to Josh Jacobs. I mean, exactly what you were saying. I was saying it for a while, that we need to keep feeding Josh Jacobs, because what I was seeing, a lot of people were like, well, Josh Jacobs, he's not really doing well. It's like, well, I don't feel like we're being consistent with the run. And when we were consistent with the run, you saw what happened. I mean, Josh Jacobs is a beast. There's a reason why Raider fans love Josh Jacobs, because this guy does not go down on the first hit. He is a tough MFer to take down for sure. So I really like the way we used him. And honestly, too, a big shout out to the offensive line. They were blocking not only on the passing game, but obviously with the running game, too. They were doing a really good job getting Josh Jacobs to the second level, and then Josh Jacobs is doing everything else. So I appreciate that. I will shout out from the Backseat Podcast. Kudos to you guys. You guys are probably on a high right now after winning the second game in the series. So shout out to you guys as you guys are watching right now. So appreciate it. Anyway, another positive was we went to Adams in the fourth quarter. Not as much as I still think, we would have liked, but I do feel like when we needed a big play, we went to, as he said, go Pods.
Yeah, he's totally excited.
Someone's been drinking. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Hopefully it's not the expired Bud Light that he drank at the home run derby stream that we did.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
But Adam,
so Ethan said that he's going to the game tomorrow. Clark was there tonight. So okay, right on.
Okay.
So he's sober.
Right.
We're good.
So Clark definitely is drinking. But anyway, Adams in the fourth quarter. I mean, the big play where Carr threw off one leg and just absolutely dimed him in the end zone. I mean, it was beautiful. So, that's what we needed to do. I'm not saying we needed to target Davante Adams 10 times in the fourth quarter, even though I honestly wouldn't hate that. At the same time, we were targeting him and we were using him correctly. I thought, honestly, offensively, our play calls were really good. We're really crisp. We're really hey, we were balancing the run game really well. And then Carr was feeling a lot more comfortable, in my opinion. And he was deciding to throw the ball just laser after laser after laser, in my opinion. So I thought the Raiders did a really good job of that. And speaking of Derek Carr, I thought he was having a really good game. I mean, you kind of look at his numbers a little bit. I wouldn't say it really shows that he was having a phenomenal game, but he went 19 of 30, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, and we had that game, and you don't need Carr to throw 300 yards. We honestly, you could argue that we didn't need Carr to throw for 200 yards because Josh Jacobs was running for 154 yards. I mean, he was phenomenal. But the 2 touchdowns definitely were huge for us. And, unfortunately, obviously, we ended up losing that game. The negatives for me, the defense. Defense couldn't stop anything. The defense was terrible. I have been a component that I didn't think that the Raiders' defense was as bad as what we thought, but they played like that in that game. It was really bad. Kelsey with 4 touchdowns. I mean, that should never happen. One guy getting all the passing touchdowns, it shouldn't happen. You should, by the third one, you should know, okay, it's going to Kelsey. And it's like we didn't figure that out. And then I honestly, I understood the 2-point conversion. You wanted to put a little pressure on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and make them have to. And like you could make the argument of, hey, we've seen their field goal kicker. He wasn't like, lights out. So I don't know. Like maybe we can get away with him missing another field goal. But I think you're playing with fire when you do that. I think you should just go for the tie, especially if you're an away team. I think just go for the tie. Especially when you're struggling to win one game out of your 5 games that you've been playing. So, just try and go into overtime and see what you can do against them and see if you can get the ball first, because we knew we could drive the ball on them. We were doing it all game long. Another thing, Darren Waller. I know he had an injury, but I think that's a negative right now. The contract that we signed him to, the productivity that he has had so far, it's almost 0 to none. He hasn't been great. I know a lot of people are killing Derek Carr for him throwing up in the red zone where everyone was like, he almost got him killed. But we've seen Waller make those catches all the time. He has to make that catch, and Carr had to throw it there. He couldn't throw it down. The defensive line had their hands up, so he had to get it over the defensive line. And I'm a little disappointed in Waller right now. I know Raider Nation definitely is. And then Hunter Renfrow, he was back in this game, and I mean, almost a non-factor. And it's another guy that we need. And as much as Davante Adams, as good as he is, he left the Packers for a reason. Yes, you had Aaron Rodgers, but there was no one else helping Davante Adams out. Now you come to the Raiders, you thought, oh, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr. Hey, I got some help. And right now, there's been no help. I mean, Matt Collins is kind of our second best receiver, and that shouldn't be it. He should not be our second best. So, I've actually been talking about, I would love to see the Raiders go after like an OBJ, because I just feel like we need some sort of help. We need some guys who are going to play it. Obviously, I don't think we're going to. I don't think we could, money-wise. But I mean, if there's a way we can, I'm not opposed to it, because I think we gotta do something here, because it's not looking great for all the other receivers. Even though I'm saying that, and we literally could be 5-0 on 5 possessions, like one possession each game. If we made a different call, if we made a different throw, if we made a different run, or whatever it may be, different call was made. We could be easily 5-0. We should have won that game. My brother-in-law even said I shut the game off because I thought the Raiders had it, and I was getting ready to go somewhere, and he goes, all of a sudden I saw that the Raiders lost, and was like, what the heck? It's exactly how Raider fans felt. We felt like we should have won that game.
So Ethan had posed a question about decision making. So his question was, what was a worse call, McDaniel's 2-point conversion or Brandon Staley going for 4th down?
I mean, if you're looking at it in the perspective of what the outcome was, it's obviously Josh McDaniels. If you're looking at the call overall, I would still say McDaniels, because I feel like in that scenario, yes, analytics say, hey, go for it. You're in Arrowhead Stadium and blah, blah, blah. But my thought was, it wouldn't have mattered if you were up, because the Chiefs were still going to march down that field. The defense had not proven anything. So you going up by 2, or going up by 1, going for 2, excuse me. I understand what the thought process is. The defense hasn't done anything, so we can't rely on them to make a stop. Listen, the Brandon Staley thing, although I don't understand it per se. Like, I also do think that he is in a different boat than what the Raiders are. The Raiders can't trust their defense, whereas the Chargers, they can trust their defense. So you're okay with going for it and being like, I can trust my defense to still be able to make a stop here. Like, we still have playmakers. Whether or not the game was kind of like, oh, the defense isn't doing it, you still have guys who can make stops at any point in time. Whereas the Raiders, Chandler Jones has not showed up. Trayvon Merrick has been pretty good. Nate Hobbs had a really bad game in this game, which is unfortunate because he's been really good this year. Denzel Perryman, he was really good in that game. But I just feel like, to me, everyone was like, just go for the tie, just go for the tie. They went for 2, and it was kind of like, okay, I guess, but it's not really going to change much because they're still like, I mean, I think there was like 4 minutes left in the game. So
it was like 4.5.
Yeah. So it just, to me, it didn't make a ton of sense. You're still, I mean, the Chiefs had all 3 timeouts at that point. For me, I just feel like the Chargers, I understand it from the perspective of, we have the guys to make the stops. The Raiders, Chandler Jones and what Ethan just said, Chandler Jones did play very well in the first half. But that was the first half we've ever seen Chandler Jones actually be mentioned, not like, oh, where has he been? It's been like, oh, Chandler Jones, he's actually having a really good game. And Max Crosby leading, I mean, he's tied for the lead in sacks, but when you only have one guy, you can double him and not really worry about anything else. So I'm gonna go with, I think the Raiders call was the worst one, not because I'm a Raiders fan and I just want to be like, oh, we suck, blah, blah, blah. But I do feel like where the Raiders are at and the Chiefs or the Chargers are at, it is different. Brandon Staley can trust his defense more than the Raiders. And I think he was trusting his defense to make a stop and then win the game, which we ended up doing, but you can't bet on it. Like, you could not bet on it in that game.
Yeah. I think in my perspective, I think Staley going for it on 4th down, in my opinion, makes sense in a lot of scenarios. Now, if it's on your own territory or whatnot, I'm not so gung-ho about it, even though number support going for it is probably the logical thing to do. My issue with McDaniels is, again, there's a lot of time left on the clock. We had an opportunity that even if we tied, to put pressure on Mahomes. Could he have driven down the field, gotten a field goal or a touchdown? More than likely, but I would have played those odds rather than get us to try to drive down the field when we, were struggling in some points because, again, the Chiefs defense was kind of getting to Derek Carr if he wasn't stepping up in the pocket. But I think, in my opinion, Staley's going for it on 4th down isn't that egregious in some respects, and it's shown some life of success. And I think he's in a way like, it's going to be the way that the game is. But then, like, for example, this is where analytics sometimes shouldn't be factored in that heavily, because look what Josh McDaniels did. He played the analytics game, and some would say it cost us, and we really should have just played it conservatively. There's a lot of ways it could have gone, a lot of different scenarios, but that's my thing. I think Staley's shown that he can do it because he has an offense and a quarterback that can probably get it done 9 out of 10 times as long as the play call's right. And then again, like what you said, the defense can be trusted. So,
and one thing that I see that Ethan just said right now is he was, thank you for putting it up. I didn't want to read it all. And if you're not watching, sorry, I'm not going to read it all. there you go.
Yeah.
But like Max Crosby right now, he has 6 sacks. Which is tied for the league with Micah Parsons and I can't think of the other person. There's another guy. Oh, Nick Bosa. And so they're all tied for the league in sacks. And like, I'm tired of hearing about Nick Bosa. He's on a phenomenal defense. Like, I'm sorry, I don't consider him. I mean, he's a really good pass rusher. I'm not saying that he's not. I mean, would I take him on the Raiders? Absolutely. But at the same time, he constantly is getting hurt, and he's really saved a lot of the times by the Niners secondary, who is very well coached, and their linebackers, aka Fred Warner, is an absolute beast, probably the best linebacker in the NFL right now. So for me, when you talk about best edge rusher, I mean, Max Crosby has to be in the mention. Yeah, Micah Parsons is having a great year, and I have no problem with a lot of people talking about could he win MVP, at least Defensive Player of the Year. I have no problem with that because the Cowboys are winning right now. But I think on another note, like Max Crosby, he's been on a crap defense for the last couple of years, and he is still making plays like what Khalil Mack was in his first few years. So hopefully this time we actually keep Crosby instead of, letting go of a generational, pass rusher, but that's neither here nor there. Just
well,
saying,
it helps
like,
when John Gruden isn't running the team anymore.
That's true. But I do like how Max Crosby has been playing, and that is nice. And I think that I thought that was going to keep like Chandler Jones afloat and keep him going. And we'll see what happens. But I, like what we were saying, Chandler Jones finally had life in that game. I hope he continues that, and I hope that continues because that'll definitely help our defense because that's what we needed in the fourth quarter, and we were kind of getting it, and it was kind of too little, too late type of a thing. So,
yeah, and I agree with your comment, Ethan, about Crosby is basically in a league of their own with the Bosa brothers, Garrett, Watt, and Parsons. Yeah, it's elite company to be in, and just to echo Drew's point, I hope that we consistently can keep Crosby and hopefully build up the defense to where he's still achieving in it, just because I think in our whole defense right now, he has 90-something% of the sacks and the pressures. Yeah. We really need Chandler to kind of step it up a little bit. And, Crosby's still getting there, which is phenomenal, but, he does need a counterpart, which is, for example, anybody opposite of another pass rusher. And again, Nick Bosa is your example where there's a really great secondary that's getting a lot of pressure sacks. That kind of helps that out a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to Davante Adams, Drew. And do you have one more point?
I just wanted to ask Ethan, because I know he'll say it on the comments. We won't answer it on here, but I'm just curious what his thought of if he thinks Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa is better. So Ethan, answer that on the comments. I want to see what you say.
Truthfully,
ahead,
too.
Cody.
Truthfully.
Yeah, truthfully.
All right, so moving on to the Davante Adams. So Drew, as you know, following the loss of the to the Chiefs that we had on Monday night, a lot of controversy. Davante Adams pushed a camera guy as he was coming in front of him, caused up a bunch of chaos. The guy that was pushed did file some misdemeanor charges on Davante Adams. So I want to get your thoughts. What's your feeling and your thoughts regarding the whole situation?
Soft. I can't believe the guy filed. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but I don't know, man. I've been in situations where I've been pushed for no reason, or I don't know, just pushed and you understand or something. I just don't understand why this guy filed charges. It's so bogus, man. I don't understand. Listen, I've been seeing, and I even saw that there was a NFL, or I don't know if he was former or current NFL photographer, but he even commented on a post on Instagram. It was a long post, and he was basically saying, I mean, Cliff Notes was, the guy should have never been even crossing in front of him. He shouldn't have even been crossing because at that time, at this point, those players are going into the locker room, and especially on a loss like that, you have to realize the situation of what is happening. There's stuff that have been thrown on towards the Raider players already at the end of the first half, and then at the end of the game, they were still throwing stuff. And then also, Davante Adams got a pass or a catch reversed, where it was called no catch, and then his own player ran into him. So he's obviously upset of what just transpired. I mean, no one's going to be okay with that. Should he have pushed him? No, but there's an argument to be made that he never saw him, and all of a sudden some guy is right in front of him. All he knew is it could have been a fan that was trying to come up to him and talk smack or whatever. So, see you later, Ethan. I appreciate you watching, man. Anyway,
see you, brother.
But you just, I don't know. To me, I don't understand how and there's some people who are like, I can't believe Davante Adams did that. I was watching Inside the NFL, and Ray Lewis was like, you can't do that. That's disrespectful. Like, these photographers, they help out the production of the game and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, you of all people should know that on a tough loss like that, you need a little bit of time to just kind of stay cool and then go into your press conference. And can we give the guy that that Davante Adams actually said, hey, you know what, I'm really like on his press conference before anyone even told him about it, he was like, hey, listen, I'm very sorry about that. Like, that is not me. I totally didn't realize who it was. I just saw some guy cut in front of me, and I just reacted, and I reacted the wrong way, and so I just want to apologize. And so then the guy sees that and responds with, all right, I'm going to file a lawsuit. Like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
It's a misdemeanor. People are making it a bigger deal than what it needs to be honest. There was talks because Fresno State is actually going to retire his number tomorrow, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And there was talks that, should they cancel it? I was like, cancel it? Why? No one thinks this is a big deal other than the media really trying to blow it out of proportion. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I had no problem with it, even when it happened. On the first thing, I was like, dude, why is that guy cutting in front of him? And I was like, why is he walking there anyway? I've never seen that. And all of a sudden, there was another camera angle, and it was like, yeah, he never even saw him. It was like, yeah, it's kind of like what Davante Adams said on his press conference was like, I didn't see the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't lie. Oh, my gosh. What riveting television. Come on, people. It's really not that big of a deal. I feel bad for Davante Adams, really. His name is being dragged through the mud on a week where it should be a happy week. We should have had that win. And then he's coming home to his college team to get his number retired, and he's got to deal with this crap. I'm really upset about this whole thing.
Yeah. My initial thoughts of it is, first off, I agree. It shouldn't have happened to begin with, whether that was the guy running in front of him, or even if the guy did run in front of him, for some reason he had to do it. I don't agree that Davante Adams had to push him. And again, the circumstances of why he pushed him, it wasn't malicious. He didn't hunt him down. He wasn't pushing him because he's a member of the media and it was like an attack against, photographers of the NFL. He's never had a history or any sort of reputation of doing so to begin with. I agree. Like, his reputation in that front is kind of being a little over exaggerated. And again, I'm coming in the position of, I don't think he should have done it in general. Like, had he bumped the guy and knocked him over by accident, I can see that's a little bit more justified. It does look pretty bad. It does look like that Davante Adams just fully extended and shoved him. And again, the guy came out of nowhere. Davante Adams literally for a brief nanosecond saw him, reacted, and then moved on from it, and as what you mentioned, he did apologize for it in his press conference and all that stuff. My initial thought again, though, is I just wish he didn't do that. But it is what it is. I don't like the fact that the guy filed charges. I do think that he'll probably come up with some settlement that gets him paid a good amount of money to just kind of hide. And, that's essentially what this is. And, it is what it is. I agree. It's kind of terrible that Davante Adams is going through all this. I don't think it warrants a suspension, maybe a fine, just because, you can't, it's not a great look that you're shoving somebody, even if, there's a lot more details as you have to, see things every little nanosecond to kind of see the progression of what it led to. But, I don't agree it should have happened, but I also think this is kind of a money grab, and this is a little blown out of proportion. If there's ever an example of somebody that, America being a sue happy country, this is pretty much a really good example of, it was incidental and it was addressed literally in the public eye by the individual that made it happen. He was remorseful. I wouldn't have been surprised if, it comes out that Davante Adams actually tried reaching out to him to make it up before the filing, So if that was the case, to show like, hey, look, man, I'm really sorry and stuff like that. And then still with all that evident, he still move forward to press charges and essentially will probably file suit of some sort. So that's essentially what's going to end up happening. So it's a bad look for Davante Adams, and it sucks. It'll probably blow over in the next couple of weeks. It's just one of those things that's just happened in the season. And it is what it is. It's not any worse than what's happening in Washington, I'll say, but for a hot minute, it was main attraction for a little bit. So
one thing I do want to push back on what you were saying is you're saying like I don't agree with Davante Adams pushing and in hindsight, like for me, I wouldn't have done that because that's not how I react. But I've had friends, my wife even reacts when she gets scared or startled or something, or someone kind of steps to them or gets too close. I've seen people swing. That's their first reaction.
Yeah.
And that kind of is what it felt like to me, because it didn't look like he saw him coming and was like, okay, I'm going to push this guy. Like he was like, he saw him and was like, oh crap, and
you're right.
Kind of like looks at him. And I'll give credit to my friend Brad, who was like, I feel like the only thing that the way he reacted, I have no problem with. It's the fact that he should have went and tried to help him up afterwards. And I was like, that's a good point. I think that is the only thing that I think if Davante were to do anything different, that's what he would have done different. It was trying to help the guy up a little bit. So that to me, like, it wasn't the push. It was kind of like looking at him and like being upset and then just walking away. I think but when you're upset, it's kind of hard to like be like, oh, you got to be empathetic after that. It's kind of like, he went through a lot. I mean, in that game, especially the last like few minutes. So I kind of understand his reaction. I don't really think it was that bad. Do I wish he would have kind of like helped him up? Yeah, but I really don't have a problem with it. So that's all I wanted to say. All right, Cody. So let's take a break here. And when we come back, we'll talk about MLB postseason and we have NBA predictions.
All right. Stay tuned.
All right, guys, we are back, and I just want to give a shout out, first of all, to a couple of our sponsors here. I wanted to give a shout out first to our sponsor at fnxfitness.com. Hey, FNX Fit, go check them out. They run out of stuff real quick. They're not a big popular brand, but their stuff is very good quality. Their shirts, their hats. I think they have backpacks. I mean, I'm blanking, the protein shake bottles,
the shaker bottles. Yeah.
Yes. And then also their proteins. I use some of their creatine every now and then, and it is phenomenal stuff. So go check them out. It is Drew code 15. You can get 15% off your whole purchase by using that promo code. It'll be in all the show notes, on YouTube, on the podcasts, all that jazz. So go check it out. It'll be on our social media and all that. So go check them out and get some stuff, especially if you're, doing some workouts, which I finally got to do, by the way. So I was missing my FNX fitness stuff for a while. So go check them out. Honestly, stuff is phenomenal. And I want to have a big shout out for Fanatics. Fanatics is one of my favorite websites that I like to go on. I told Cody this last week that I've been literally since we became a they're helping us with the sponsorship. I've been on it every single day. I've just been looking at all this stuff like, what could I buy today? And I forget that, I do have a budget and I have to stay within it. So I have to remind myself. But they have some great stuff. Go check them out. NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL. I mean, all the sports, even college football. I mean, they just came out with the Nike, I believe it was the Pegasus shoe, where all the teams, which they did for college and for pro. So, which are cool, which I actually have the Nike Pegasus, but mine are just, the regular. And I'm like, dang, man, my shoes are trash right now.
Some of those shoes look so good.
Yeah. I mean, the Raiders ones honestly looks like exactly what I'm wearing right now, just without the Raider logo. So I was like, dang, all I need is like a sticker. Just place it on there. But it wouldn't look the same. But no, go check them out. They got great stuff. They're always having discounts, whether it be like free shipping, 65% off. So go check them out. They got great stuff. I need a phone case, so I'm gonna probably buy one for that for sure. And I need a new lanyard because I have one that has Velcro and it's completely shot. So I definitely am gonna be buying those. I know it's little stuff, but my wife does need a shirt, so I'm gonna do that. And I'm thinking maybe a Davante Adams jersey. I don't know. We'll see.
I think they're on sale. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, that should be his fine. He should just like buy a bunch of people. Should just buy a bunch of fans his jersey. That should be his fine. Anyway, and then also I want to give a big shout out to a new sponsor, SeatGeek. That's right, we got SeatGeek, dude. I'm so stoked about this one because I'm going to a concert, which I'm a little upset because now I could use the promo code, or I could use our code on there, but unfortunately I already bought the ticket, so sorry, SeatGeek. But I plan on going to many more concerts and many more sports games. SeatGeek is a phenomenal website. Go check them out. I've used it. It is so freaking easy to use. It feels like it's like 3 different windows and then you're done. Like that's it. You find the game, you find the seat that you want, click on the seat, enter all that information, and if you have a login, it's even easier than that. So yeah, go check them out. And if you use our promo code, which is Drew Code, and it looks like it's all capital letters, you can get $20 off your first order. Your very first order, you can get $20 off by using our promo code. So if you're planning or you were thinking about going to a game or concert, anything like that, go to SeatGeek, use our promo code, get $20 off. I wish I would have known that because I'm going to the Fresno State game tomorrow, and I could have definitely used that. I would have had no problem with. And the other thing was it's got to be $50 or more to get that $20 off. I would have no problem doing that. If I'm getting $20 off, I'm cool with that. So go check them out, and we appreciate SeatGeek, Fanatics, and FNX Fit. So I just want to say all that.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Back to the regularly scheduled show, I suppose.
Yeah. All right. Cody, the MLB postseason is in full swing. We really kind of missed the wild card as we recorded one week and now this week. The wild card pretty much, I don't know. There was a couple of surprises for me, and I'll ask you about it. I figured San Diego was going to win because the Mets were tanking before that series started, and it's just like you kind of have to come in hot. I didn't think the Padres were hot, but I thought the Mets were just cold. I really thought the Mariners were going to beat the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays had been hit and miss so much in the regular season, and they kind of were starting to go. But the Guardians, and shout out to Clark from the Backseat podcast, he's been on them for a long time, and I completely agreed with him. And I didn't think the Rays stood a chance. I was kind of surprised that the Rays ended up winning or getting in. I thought they were kind of just, it kind of felt like it was just like we had to put in another team, so it was the Rays type thing. Almost like I feel bad for saying that, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't know. I didn't think they were that great this year, and I know they had a winning record, but anyway, I'm not going to go into it. But the one surprising one was the Phillies over the Cardinals. I thought after game 1, I was like, look, this Cardinals team is an experienced team. This is a team that has a good starting rotation, has a decent bullpen. They got some veteran guys on the squad that knows how to, come up clutch. And I thought the Cardinals were really going to win the next 2 games after that. And they ended up losing to Philly again. And I was really surprised. And now Philadelphia is on a 2-1 lead over the Braves, which I didn't even think was going to be possible. I thought the Braves were definitely going to mop the floor with the Phillies, but it's a series, man. And so it's very interesting to see what's going on. Cody, kind of what are your thoughts on the whole postseason so far first?
I think there's a ton of good storylines to it. I think the Guardians being one is a pretty nice one, considering that they were a team that's really young that, if they can pull it all together, they could be a dangerous team that runs deep. And, here we are in October and they're playing. Another team being the Seattle Mariners, I think. They're just catching lightning in a bottle. And unfortunately, they're going against a tough Astros team. So, they're going to try to find some momentum because they're down 2-0 right now. But they are heading to Seattle, so that might help a little bit. Some surprises for me initially right now. I agree with the Phillies because I actually am high on the Braves. And the Braves need to steal one from Philadelphia right now because I think they're going to Philadelphia tomorrow. And the series could be over really quickly for the defending champions.
They were in Philly today.
I think Saturday says that they're playing in there now, or they'll play there tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, they play 2-2, and then whoever
this
has
is the
the
game.
higher.
This is the game to steal it. Then, and then I'm actually initially surprised that the Dodgers are falling 2-1 right now to the Padres. Not that I have anything against the Padres. I agree with you. I thought that the Mets were doing Met things and just kind of unfolding before our eyes as they were in the wild card series. I felt like that the Dodgers, though, their lineup would be able to compete against, the bullpen of the Padres. And I give the credit to the Padres. Their starting lineup has been really good. Yu Darvish had a pretty good game. I think tonight was Blake Snell. He looked like Blake Snell of old, which is really surprising because he's been kind of hit and miss. Kershaw did Kershaw things when he pitched. So, Dodgers are kind of where they're at because of that. And I was really hoping to see that the Dodgers lineups could compete with those pitchers. And we're seeing right now that the pitchers are kind of winning that battle. And the Padres offense has finally come alive. It's all starting to come together this late in the season, which is what they're looking for. Just don't know if it'll be able to last whenever they go against either the Phillies or the Phillies or the Braves. But initially right now, it's a lot of fun baseball, a lot of interesting storylines that are going on, which I find very compelling. And, I think we will see a World Series with some first-time teams in there, and I think that's pretty exciting for baseball, considering what's going to be coming next season with the whole rule changes. And, now that baseball's getting a little bit younger, maybe it'll stir up a little bit more of a younger audience. So,
yeah. Let's get into it because the question that we proposed here was, who do we believe is going into the World Series? So I'm going to still speak from what I felt like was going to happen already, but I'm going to kind of go series by series a little bit. I'm just going to go quick here. I felt like Houston's going to win in Seattle. I do think Seattle might steal one just because, Seattle is a team, especially when you're going to play in Seattle. And they haven't seen playoff baseball since 2001. It's going to be electric. It's going to be hard to beat Seattle in Seattle with that type of crowd. It's just going to be really hard. So I feel like Seattle is going to steal one, but I do feel like Houston will probably get one in Seattle as well and finish this off. So I do feel like Houston has this one in the bag pretty much in that series. And then going to the other AL game, which is the Guardians and the Yankees. Look, the Yankees look flat. They look flat, straight out.
They look uninterested, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, the starting pitching hasn't been fantastic. The bullpen is what I was a little worried about with the Yankees, and I think my worries were valid now. And then also, I thought the lineup was the only thing that was kind of the saving grace for the Yankees, really, or the starting pitching a little bit. Aaron Judge going 0 for 8. Listen, I don't think he's going to be like that for long. I think he's going to snap out of it because I think he understands. Listen, it's not in the postseason. It's not about the home runs. It's about just getting on base, creating offense for your team, being that teammate. Whether if there's runners on base. And I think also, too, the Yankees need to stop with Aaron Judge hitting one. You can't have him hitting one. He should not be hitting one. I understand if he's hitting 2. I'd rather see him 3 or 4 because then you're creating RBI opportunities and you're getting him to think, okay, I don't need a home run here. I just need to get this guy home. And I think it literally does. When you're playing ball, you're hitting 1, you're just like, okay, I need to get on base. Whereas with Aaron Judge, now he's being told you need to hit a home run. Where if he's at 3 or 4, it's like, okay, I just need to drive in this run no matter what. Yeah, I could hit a home run, but I'd rather just get the runner in because this is postseason ball. I can't strike out here. So I think his mindset would change. So I think him dropping in the lineup would actually benefit him. And he probably wouldn't be so burnt out, because it kind of seems like he's a little burnt out, to be perfectly honest right now. And then the Braves and Phillies. I'm going to stick with the Braves on this one. I think the Braves are still the better team. I think their bullpen is better. I think their starting rotation is their weak point. And it's kind of been showing up recently against the, Castellanos, Bryce Harper. And here's the thing. This is what I wanted to say. Bryce Harper has elevated his game. He has actually played a lot better than what I've seen. He's been a way better teammate than he was in Washington, and I don't think he's getting enough credit for that. So I wanted to say that, because I really think that Bryce Harper is actually playing better baseball overall, because he's doing it with his glove. He's getting on base. He's not trying to just jack home runs constantly. He's trying to create offense, like what we were talking about with Aaron Judge. He's trying to create offense for his team, and that's what he's been doing. And then he's leaving it up to Nick Castellanos to focus on the power. Castellanos is doing a great job of it. So the Braves, on the other hand, Acuna needs to step up. Matt Olson had a really good game one, but he hasn't really been much of a factor recently. Austin Riley has had really good defensive stops, but his offense really needs to get going as well. So there's a lot of the guys that they've relied on all year that aren't really doing anything. So the Braves are really going to have to step up, and they need to do it quick, because they're down 2-1. And then the Padres and Dodgers. I'm still going to pick the Dodgers. I know they're bad. I know they're down, but if there's any team that I would bet are going to score runs in the next game, it would be the Dodgers. I think their lineup is really ridiculous. I think they're trying to focus on. Here's the thing that, if I'm a Dodger fan, I'm frustrated with, because obviously Dave Roberts is trying to be too cute. He had Cody Bellinger out of the lineup because they're going against Blake Snell. Now, Cody Bellinger is not Cody Bellinger of 2019, but at the same time, Cody Bellinger has been a proven guy in postseason play. He is a guy that, for some reason, all of a sudden steps up. Now, he hasn't had a great series so far. He hasn't been great, but he is a great defender. And I feel like you don't want to lose that defense in the outfield. And also, he is a guy that you still have to worry about. You can't groove a fastball down the pipe, because he is absolutely going to crank that. So you have to be aware of that. So I do think that the Dodgers need to just be like, listen, what's been our best lineup? Let's use that lineup. And I guarantee you Bellinger is going to be a part of that. It'll be interesting to see how they do against, I believe Joe Musgrove is pitching this next game here. So that'll be really interesting. But overall, I had the Braves and the Guardians going, or I'm sorry, I had the Braves and Astros go. No, yeah, I had the Astros going. I think this lineup is tough. This Astros lineup is really tough. Alvarez, Altuve still, Bregman, Tucker, who I actually saw from the Backseat podcast. They tweeted out, like, Kyle Tucker is like one of the most underrated ball players, and I 100% agree. We watched him when he was actually here in Fresno, playing for the AAA team at the time. And he was, I kept saying, I always said it to my wife. I was like, I don't understand why this guy is not on the Astros team. This guy is such a good ball player. He's so underrated. And then when he got called up, I remember in fantasy baseball, I was like, I'm scooping him up. I know he's good. And he has been very good. And he has been really, he's a big time power hitter. He's not one of those guys who's going to hit, 300, but he's a guy who's hitting 250, and 250 guy who's hitting 30 home runs a year. You're going to take that all day. And right now he's having a really good series as well. So this Astros team is good. And not only are they good, they have a really unique pitching staff. Like their rotation, their bullpen, it's sick. It is sick the way they mix everything up. They have Christian Javier, who could come out of the bullpen at any time, or he can start. It's amazing. I'm just in awe of this team. I still like the Braves. I think their bullpen is what's going to take them over. I think we're seeing the weaknesses of the Dodgers, missing Walker Buehler and all that. So to me, I have the Braves and the Astros, but I'm really, really rooting for the Guardians. And I kind of like to see the Phillies go. I would really like to see that. But
I think for me, if I had an AL representative, I would say, in my opinion, it is between the Guardians and Astros. I would side with the Astros, though. I do think that majority of that team still has a lot of the veteran leadership. This is kind of ironic too, because not very long ago they were in that cheating scandal, of stealing signs, and here they are, on the cusp of getting into the conference championship. So I think the Astros are a dangerous team. My only concern with them is with Justin Verlander being their ace. And not that I have any issue with him. I just think he's now pitching in October. And again, we're a season, he just missed one season from Tommy John, and he's looking absolutely like a Cy Young Award winner. But we're getting late into the season. So how much left does he have left in the tank, I think, is the biggest question. And yeah. I wouldn't want one of those bad starts to be during a crucial time, say, game 5 or 7 of the NLCS or the World Series, because he's due for a bad outing, even though he's been good all season. Baseball is a long season, 162 games. Now you add in another 20 something games in the postseason if it goes that long. So I do think that the Astros, though, will prevail, and I do think it'll be the Astros and the Guardians. I have no faith in the Yankees. I think that they are exactly what you said. Their starting lineup is not very good. Bullpen is probably the only thing that is decent, but it's not consistent as well. Aaron Judge looks completely like he's done with New York. New York looks like they're ready to go home. They don't really have that hunger anymore. It seems like after Aaron Judge hit 62, they all said, okay, we're good for the season, regardless of what postseason outcomes were. They just don't have any more life. And I think the Guardians, being that young team, I think they're ready to move up into the upper echelon of the majors. But I do think the Astros will be the AL representative. And I was rooting for the Braves. I'm rooting for the Braves on the inside, but some part of me, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up anyone's ass about this, but I do think that, I hate to say it, I think the Padres are going to end up there. I think that they're going to just get hot at the right time. And the Dodgers have an uphill battle right now. They're still in San Diego. They've got to steal one because Padres have already stole one in LA. I think the Dodgers will do so, but I do agree with you, Drew. They are missing their ace, Walker Buehler, like that tone setter. They don't really have that right now. I don't know how much they can rely on Kershaw, just because he's proven, even in the game that he pitched not too long ago, giving up 3 kind of early runs, and it put them behind pretty quickly.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's going to be their downfall, is that they need that ace. They really do need Walker Buehler to kind of set the tone and be an offensive team. And I think Mookie Betts needs to step up a little bit. He's only hitting, I think he's only hitting 125 right now, and he has a couple of strikeouts, some crucial ones. So he's got to really step it up. And I agree, Dave Roberts needs to get out of his way and just play his lineup. But I think in the NL, I would say that the Padres will represent the NL. So if I had to predict anything today, I would say it's probably the Astros and the Padres. But if you want me to predict the winner, I can. But I think that we'll save that. So
yeah, don't worry about it.
All right. So NL, in my opinion, Padres, AL being the Astros.
Yeah, we'll save that for another day, because I still think that there's too much baseball to be thought about. And, listen, I think just predicting the World Series is hard enough. So, let's just not sound dumb. Well, not sound even more dumb than what we probably already do. So,
agreed.
All right, Cody. Let's transition from postseason baseball to NBA. So this is something that I kind of wanted to do, because we kind of been doing it with the NFL. Now the NFL is a little bit easier because there's only 17 games, so it's kind of easier to predict the records and stuff. So I'm going to kind of do that, but what we're going to do here is we're going to predict who's going to get into the playoffs. We're not going to predict the records. We don't need to predict, okay, this is going to be the number 1 seed in the East. This is going to be the number 1 seed in the West. No, we don't need to do that. Let's just see who is going to be in the playoffs. So the first question that I have set up for you, and I'll have you start it out, Cody, is who are the first 6 East teams? So if you guys don't know how the playoffs work, there's 6 teams on East and West. Those teams are automatically in the playoffs at the end of the year, who have obviously the 6 best records. Then there are 4 play-in teams that have to play each other. If you're the 7th and 8th seed, all you have to do is basically win one. And if you're the 9 and 10 seeds, you have to win 2 games to get in. So that's kind of what we're doing. So I'm going to ask these 6 teams, and then we'll ask for the 4 teams who are going to be in the plan. So, Cody, who are the first 6 East teams in the playoffs, in your opinion, and why?
All right. So in the East, and ironically, I think I did rank them 1 through 6. So I'll stick with this as like my regular season rankings, I suppose, because I think it's going to be pretty close. So anyways, I got Milwaukee Bucks at number 1. I have the Sixers at number 2. I have the Celtics at number 3. I have the Nets at 4. Hawks at 5. I have Cavs at 6. Those are my 6 Eastern teams I predict are going to get into the playoffs.
Wow. All right. You ran through that a lot quicker than I thought you were going to. Thought I had time. So mine are not in any particular order. So I'm going to preface it by that. I'm just looking at who I think is still going to be relevant. And I think the first team I'm going to say is the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid had a phenomenal year last year. I thought he was, in my opinion, I thought he could win the MVP. I thought maybe he would. Obviously, it ended up being, Joker, who well-deserved. I'm not saying he didn't. But I just think that team is really good. I know James Harden, blah, blah, blah. But listen, Embiid was doing it without James Harden regardless. So I really think that the Sixers team actually might be better. And I think there's a lot of talk that James Harden looks better. He looks like he understands that, listen, he's not going to be able to do what he used to. And so, which is huge, because when Carmelo Anthony decided that, listen, I'm not going to be the person I was, I think Carmelo Anthony has been a better player because we know what he can do and we know what he can't do. And he's not trying to pretend that he's still one of the best players. And I think James Harden is doing the same thing. Something that I believe that Russell Westbrook could really take a page out of their book. So, hopefully we get to them in a little bit. But another team I would say is Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat, they're a good team. I mean, plain and simple. I don't think I need to really go into it about that. I think the Celtics are still going to get in as well. I know there's been a lot of issues, especially with the head coach, but I think that team is way too talented. They really didn't get rid of anything.
And they added Malcolm Brogdon too, who's pretty good, probably going to be a good piece for them.
And he's got a good shot too. So I'm going to pick the Celtics in there. I'm going to pick the Cavaliers as well. The Cavs, I really, really like this year. Obviously, adding Donovan Mitchell, who's probably – that's the only thing I'm a little worried about is the chemistry with him and the other teammates, because this is a pretty young team. That's the other thing I'm going to have an issue with. But they proved that they can play really well. This is a good defensive team, and Donovan Mitchell has been knocked for his defense before, so I get a little worried about that. But I do think the Cavs are going to get in. Obviously, the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, like I said, I'm not having this in order, so the Bucks probably would be 1 or 2, in my opinion. I just think the Bucks, there's not much else to say other than they're just really freaking good.
Yeah.
And I might surprise you, but I'm looking at a lot of the East teams. I'm just like, damn.
I know this was tough when I was doing it too.
I'm gonna go with the Raptors. I think the Raptors.
Okay.
Are still a viable team. I thought they were really good. They kind of like burn out, but I do think the Raptors. I think if I'm going to trust a team to get in the first 6, I over any of the rest of the teams that are available, I think I would trust the Raptors.
Right on.
All right, so Cody, who is your 4 teams going into the play-in for the East?
All right, so these 4 are not ranked. I will say that. As I say them, they're just the ones I wrote down. So the first 6, I'd say, yeah, that's my ranking. The play-in teams are not. They're just teams I wrote down. Chicago Bulls are, in my opinion, a play-in team. I think there's a lot of question marks around Lonzo Ball, who essentially they signed a couple off seasons ago, who was supposed to be the facilitator, help in the defensive department, and he's got knee issues. And I think earlier this offseason, there was he was saying that he hasn't even ran or jumped yet since his first surgery, which is really alarming. He had a second one, so we'll see how his recovery is. But the Bulls defensively just really need him. He's not really known for his offense, even though he can get you a bucket if needed, but he's definitely a facilitator and leads that defense. So I think, though, the Bulls are going to be missing a couple of things, and I think that they had a lot of in-season magic last year, but I think they're going to be probably a play-in team in this upcoming season. And then another team that I have in the play-in would be the New York Knicks. I'm not a big fan of them. I do think that they have enough talent to push for a playoff seeding or at least get into the play-in, but they still have a lot of question marks. I don't think they really answered it. And I mean, Julius Randle right now probably won't even be on the team by the end of the year just because that relationship is souring really quickly. I do have the Miami Heat as a play-in team, and the reason why is because they showed a lot of discourse towards the end of last season, and I really felt like their collapse was pretty alarming considering they're a pretty well organized team, and I just felt like that they were missing that. I think that maybe some of these young pieces are going to be moved one way or the other, or this team has been together a little too long to where it's kind of proven that they're not really winning together any longer, and that something's going to happen where there's some sort of trade or change somewhere, and I think it will affect the Heat. I do see them as a play-in team, and I would suggest if I had to put them in a ranking, I'd say they're probably going to be either the 7th or the 18th. I think they're really talented still. I just don't see them as a for sure playoff team at this moment, just because there's a lot of question marks I have for them. And then the final play-in team I would have the Toronto Raptors. So I think that I agree they're a young team. They don't really have a star that they could rely their offense on. They really play a lot of like team basketball. Sometimes that gets you so far, but in other places it's not so much. I really think that the Toronto Raptors will show that they do need some sort of a second star piece. I don't think Scotty Barnes is enough. Pascal Siakam, he's a good piece, but I think that I don't know if he's enough for the Raptors to help get them over the top, or at least get them back into the playoffs as a 1 through 6 seeding. So those are my 4 play-in teams: Bulls, Knicks, Heat, and Raptors.
All right. My play-in teams for the East, I have the Chicago Bulls as well. I agree with you. This is a team that is very talented, but I do think they fell off when they lost Lonzo Ball. And it kind of seems right now that we're not sure when he's coming back,
right?
Which is a little concerning if you're a Bulls fan. I also have the Brooklyn Nets. Listen, I know what everything has gone through, even without, if KD is healthy. Now, that's a big if. But if KD is healthy, even if Kyrie is like checked out, like I still feel like this is a really good enough team to get in. Ben Simmons, has he looked great? No. But I still think he is a guy who is a good facilitator. And honestly, I think him and KD work a lot better than KD and Kyrie do. And the big factor for why you would keep Simmons over Irving is Simmons plays defense, and he's really good at it. So I just think that it'll end up working out. Hopefully, honestly, I hope this team trades or gets rid of Kyrie somehow, some way. So that way we can really see how this team can really play. Because with Kyrie, I think that's the thing that's holding them back. Then I have the Wizards. I agree with you. This Wizards team is good. I think Bradley Beal needs something. Honestly, I think if the Wizards would go back to Russell Westbrook, I actually don't think it would be that bad, because the Westbrook actually was really liked in Washington. It was actually a surprise that he left. And so I think Washington would welcome him. And honestly, Bradley Beal really liked Russell Westbrook. So I think the Wizards might make a move. And if it's Westbrook, I wouldn't be that surprised. But Kuzma is another one of those factors that he really stepped his game up last year. And which I'm really glad for him. As a Laker fan, I wish we would have kept him. But I really like Kuzma, and he's actually getting the ball more. He's being able to shoot more. Is he always fantastic? No, but I am happy that he gets to this opportunity. And my fourth team, I'm gonna go with the Hawks. I really wanted to pick the Pistons, but it's such a young team. I don't trust them at all. But I really like Ivy and Cunningham. I think that's going to be a dangerous combo. But they're young. And whereas the Hawks, as much as I don't trust Trae Young, I do trust him to hit a lot of shots. And that's exactly what he's going to do. And that's exactly what they need him to do. And so when push comes to shove, it's going to be I think it's just going to be the Hawks. The low end East teams, it's not great.
No, it's not.
I almost thought about the Magic too, because they actually have a really good team, but again, they're very young as well. The Pacers are kind of rebuilding, so it was kind of hard. And the Hornets, I don't know what they're doing right now.
Hornets 2 years in a row have been on the cusp of a play-in team, so it's almost like they are due for success, but they're not prepared for it, which is kind of weird to say. But I don't know. They've got a lot of growing up to do, and I just don't see LaMelo Ball leading them to the playoffs, in my opinion. So,
yeah. All right, Cody. Who is your first 6 teams from the West in the playoffs?
So these are in no particular order. This is not my official ranking of these 1 through 6, but these are the first 6 I have that I believe are going to obviously get into the playoffs. So I've got the Warriors, I have the Mavericks, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Clippers, Grizzlies. I think honestly, kind of how they are, I really think that this 6 is super solid. And I will say that the West is actually probably a lot more competitive, because there's probably 2 or 3 more teams I could have made an argument that could be in 1 through 6. I think the Warriors are probably going to go through the first hurdle, but they'll make it. They're the defending champions. I think Dallas is going to be a team that is going to be looking even better than they did last season with adding Christian Wood. The Nuggets getting Jamal Murray back, in my opinion, is absolutely huge. I see that the Nuggets are probably the second biggest threat to the Warriors in defending the championship. Timberwolves, I know that they got Rudy Gobert. I have them as a solid team just because they've kind of got some continuity. I will preference that I do see them as one of the 6, but I don't see them lasting very long, just because I don't know how the 2 big man system is going to work, considering that the league is going to a more of a spread offense. So I'm just preferencing that. I think the Clippers, I'm going to preference this. The Clippers are a team to be reckoned with. They're getting Kawhi Leonard back. They're getting Paul George. They signed John Wall, who probably come off the bench. They have Tyronn Lue, who is a championship coach who gets the best out of his players. And that was evident last season when the Clippers basically kind of made a run towards the end, and he had them playing solid basketball. So I think that and obviously I have the Grizzlies. I'm sorry. John Morant, along with that young Grizzlies team, they have a tenacious defense. My only thing is I really hope that their shooting stays consistent, because if it does, then they are another team that could easily bounce out the Warriors. I think the Warriors have a tougher battle this season than did last season to win the championship, just because these teams are healthier. These teams have now reloaded and gotten players back now. Again, Nuggets getting Jamal Murray, Clippers getting Kawhi Leonard back. I think those are huge. So I see that the West is going to be even more parity, in my opinion. And I think the Warriors run the risk of not even getting out of the semifinals, my opinion, if we were to do playoff predictions. But that's what I'm saying now, at least 1 through 6.
All right. My 1 through 6, I'm going to go through them kind of quick here is, again, no particular order, of course. I have the Mavericks and what more do I need to say? It's Luka, who is the truth, the light, and the NBA. I mean, he's the Messiah. I mean, he really is. Luka is phenomenal, and I don't think he's going to come in 3 years in a row out of shape, and we haven't heard that all preseason long so far. So I think Luka's actually going to be ready to go, but I think it's also going to help that he's going to be able to rely on Christian Wood a lot to make a few shots here. So it's not going to be Luka-centric, because I felt like in the playoffs they died because it was just like, hey, Luka, here. Luka, do this. Luka, do that. And he's like, all right, well, I can't do everything, guys. And that's why they're talking about how bad his defense was. He was like, well, I got to save myself for the offense. That's all our offense is. So I think this is going to be a real different and dangerous team with Christian Wood being added. Denver Nuggets, as you said, Jamal Murray's coming back, Joker, who's the defending MVP. And then you also talk about Michael Porter Jr., who this guy is a beast when he gets to play. Unfortunately, he's constantly injured. So hopefully they can stay healthy, because I think that could be the number 1 seed in the West. I really do. Then you have the Memphis Grizzlies, Ja. I think if you're looking for a different guy who could possibly win MVP, I think Ja Morant is the guy that you're going to look for, because I've seen Zion Williamson having those, and I'm like, dude, this guy is constantly injured. Ja, on the other hand, was like, they were putting it to the Warriors. I mean, it was a dangerous game.
Yeah.
I really like Ja Morant, and I think if he stays healthy all year, he is a potential, and I think he should be a big time favorite for MVP, because he just won what was it, comeback player of the year, which was like weird. That was weird. I don't understand the comeback player of the year, but
most improved. He won most improved.
Most improved. That's what it was. Like, okay, most improved from great to excellent. I mean, I guess. But Ja Morant, dude, this dude, he elevated that team, and he's absolutely electric. I think he is an MVP candidate for sure. The Golden State Warriors, I think it's hard to keep them out, especially they were the champs. But when you have Steph Curry, when you have Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, say what you will with the punch, yada yada yada. Jordan Poole. I think Jordan Poole is going to take a step forward. So I really like this team. And I know you're not too fond of them because they're a little bit older, but I really do like this team. Again, as long as they stay healthy, this is a phenomenal team. I have the Los Angeles Clippers as well. Like you said, Kawhi's coming back. Paul George is coming back healthy. They did sign John Wall. I don't know how big of a thing that is to sign John Wall, but I think he will definitely add a dynamic to the second team, which is going to be huge for the bench. Coming off, you get your top guys coming off, and you just have this guy who just plays the game completely different than what you've just been guarding. So I think that'll be a cheat code for them for sure. And then I think the Phoenix Suns. I think the Suns are, listen, they're still a good team. As much as I honestly kind of wanted to put them in the play-in, I also don't want to, because I don't want to bet against Chris Paul. I'm not a huge fan of Devin Booker, as a lot of people are. I don't think Devin Booker is, a top 10 guy, in my opinion. I don't think he's top 15, to be perfectly honest, as well. I think he's a really good player, but to me, he's kind of a one-trick pony, and I don't trust guys like that to lead their team. So as long as they have Chris Paul, though, and him, that's a dangerous combination. So Suns would be rounding that out. Again, it's not in any order. I really don't care about the order, just about the teams getting in. All right, Cody. So to round out what we have, the 4 play-in teams from the West, who do you have and why?
So again, in no particular order, I have the Portland Trailblazers as one of the play-in teams. I do think that adding Jeremy Grant will help the team with Damian Lillard. I do think that is an element of their offense that they needed. I don't know in what order. I'd imagine they're probably going to be sniffing closer to the 9th seed or the 8th seed, but I do think that they have enough that could be somewhat of a pest in the Western Conference. Next team I have is the New Orleans Pelicans. I do think adding Zion, having CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, I think this is a really good and up-and-coming team. I actually really wanted to put them as one of the top 6, but I just couldn't justify it just because I feel like the 6 I have a better argument on staying there. I think the Pelicans are going to be a team that will surprise a lot of people, but I do think that given the opportunity, they could be prepared for a pretty good playoff run, especially if Zion Williams is healthy. He just adds a different dynamic to that offense. You don't really understand how explosive he is until he's off the court, and the Pelicans needed that kind of explosion in order to keep developing, and I think that they are going to really show that now with Zion back on the floor. Another play-in team I have the Phoenix Suns. I do not have them as one of the 6. I have them as a play-in team. I can't bet against Chris Paul like you mentioned. I do think, though, that the dysfunction with DeAndre Ayton is apparent, and I agree. I think Devin Booker isn't a top 15 player if we're talking overall players. I think in his position, he's very, very good, but I agree. He hasn't really developed how to get away from double teams to create additional offense. When his shot is cold, he doesn't really go to the basket and create for others, which is kind of concerning. I do think, though, that as a well-coached team, they're good enough to at least, be a 7th or an 8th seed. Maybe they'll tie for 8th and 9th or something like that. I don't think it's going to be a tremendous drop-off, but I don't see them being the number 1 seed in the West anymore. I think teams now have 2 years of film on them to kind of play them a little bit differently, and you can tell towards last season the Suns just weren't playing Phoenix Suns basketball anymore. And then as the final play-in team I have, and I actually will say that they are going to be dead last in this ranking 1 through 10, so to speak. I do have the LA Lakers. I'm going to go on a limb and say that I think that they will make some sort of a move in either whether it be at the beginning of the season or at the trading deadline. I don't see Westbrook being on the team at the end of the season. I do think that Darvin Ham will do something to change this offense one way or the other. Honestly, I know I shouldn't say this, but it couldn't be any worse than last season. I do think that if AD and LeBron James can both be on the floor more than 50 games together, respectively, I do think that they're at least a play-in team. They won the championship together with a collection of other players. I do think that this roster has enough to maybe get them into the play-in at least, even out of spite of Russell Westbrook. I don't mind Patrick Beverley being on the team with that defensive mindset and just being a tenacious player. It's clearly not for offense, but it'll be a really good tone setter, so to speak, against the other teams. And I'm just going to go out on faith that, they're going to figure it out. LeBron James is not going to miss the playoffs again. I think that he'll find a way to get them into the playoffs and give them an opportunity. He'll keep his body healthy, and I think AD will be a lot more healthier this season. I think Darvin Ham's offense will be a little bit better for them. I expect them to be the worst defense, though, in the entire league. I think they're going to be 30 out of 30 for sure. I was watching their preseason game the last 2 games, and they couldn't stop a nosebleed. So I don't have a whole lot of positives to say about their defense. I just think that they will just outlast some teams, and I think that they'll find ways to get into the play-ins. That's what I have.
All right, so I have the T-Wolves in, again, it's no order. I have the Timberwolves. Listen, I think they're going to use Rudy Gobert in the way that Rudy Gobert wants to be used, where he doesn't want to be the number 1 offensive guy. He doesn't really want to be the number 2 offensive guy. He will probably be the number 4 option, which is perfect for him because, he's used to only scoring like 10 points a game anyway. So he's a guy who's going to get rebounds. Which is going to help, Cat go out and on fast breaks. Anthony Edwards, this is a really good team. I actually really like the Timberwolves, and I think they're going to use their guys the right way. Now, the only thing is, having 2 big guys is like what you said, where the league's kind of going towards the guards, they're kind of going with the big men. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. I think it will, though. I really think, Gobert's not really going to be in the way. He's a phenomenal defender, which is actually going to help because Cat should be a phenomenal defender, and he sometimes has some weird, just like, I don't know. He just looks like he's lost on defense. So I think this Timberwolves team is going to be a lot better. I also have the Pelicans. The Pelicans, listen, Zion looks in great shape. Obviously, he just got hurt, though, so, there goes his MVP odds. I like the team without Zion or with Zion. I think they're just much better with Zion, obviously. I don't think anyone would say, they're better without him. But CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram finally came into his own, is really stepping up as scoring leader. CJ McCollum is a veteran presence who's definitely going to help them threes. He's an okay defender. I don't think he's great, but I think he's okay. So I think that'll definitely help them out. I have the Thunder as a play-in. I want to pick the Rockets because I really am rooting for the Rockets. I want to pick the Kings, but I just don't trust the Kings. Yeah. I actually really like the Kings team, to be perfectly honest. I really like the Rockets team, but both teams very young. Jazz, I think they're in a rebuild right now. The Trailblazers, I think yes, they got Jeremy Grant, but you're not helping your defense, which is I think they're going to be last in the league in defense. And then the Spurs, I think with what's been going on this past couple of off seasons, I think it's going to hurt them. So that's why I picked the Thunder. I think they're actually a young team, yet they have playoff experience. So I think they know how to get it done, what to do. And to be perfectly honest, I know it's preseason. You can't really take much from preseason, but they're 5-1 in preseason. That's pretty good. And that means, to me, that shows that you have a little bit of depth. And that's what there's been their strong suit going into every season. Their depth, when they sub guys out, it's not a lot of change. So I think that's really going to help them out. And then I'm with you. As much as I don't want to, but at the same time I do, I have the Lakers in. I do. I trust LeBron James. Listen, AD and LeBron play well together. It's when they added Russell Westbrook is where we've had a kind of a mess. I thought Russell Westbrook was going to be really good for them. I was wrong. I think they're going to get rid of him. I think it's apparent because he came out of today's game with an injury, and I put that in air quotes because I think it has to do with the videos of him not being in the huddle, and they interviewed him today, and he was laughing, and it was like, dude, you're so tone deaf. It's ridiculous. I hate this. If there's any way we could get just depth for him, I would be okay with it. I have no problem trading him for guys who are, who you would say, oh, that guy is not on the same level of Russell Westbrook. Listen, we need depth. We don't need a Russell Westbrook. We have a pretty decent team. If you take Russell Westbrook out, it gels well. And I actually think this offense is really good with Darvin Ham. I think it is completely night and day from what we had with Frank Vogel, who was a defensive coach, to now Darvin Ham, who is a offensive coach. So I do think in that perspective, it still could possibly work with Westbrook. I'd rather just go away from it. I don't want to get Kyrie Irving. I don't think that's the answer. Like I said, I want more depth. If we could trade it to, get some guys from, the Jazz or the Spurs, I think, or even Trailblazers, if they're starting to, tank a little bit. I think there are trades in the league where you could go after and get, who would be willing to trade, because I think there's a lot to get out there that would help with your depth, and you could go younger, you could get maybe older, whatever you're wanting to do, you can do it. And I think you can do it with Westbrook. I just, I think the Lakers are still like, well, we have Russell Westbrook. We're paying him this much. You got to get over it now. You got to get over it. You're not going to get what you're wanting. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen now unless he all of a sudden just turns it on for some strange reason. But I'm not willing to bet on that. So for me, I think if you're the Lakers, go get depth, trade him away, maybe get another big, and a guard, and just go from there.
Can't disagree, man.
All right. Well, that's it, everyone. That's right. It took us forever, but we're here. No, I appreciate everyone listening. Thank you so much. We're always excited to do this episode. Go follow us on all the social media sites, as Cody said in the beginning, which is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also TikTok. Also follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is obviously True Code Sports Talk. And like and comment on all the videos. We always want to hear from you guys. Go to all the major podcast sites, which is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, rate, and review as well. We always want to hear from you on those as well. Give us a 5-star, and that's it, and that's all we want. No, just kidding. But if it is going to be a 5-star, let us know what you like. That way we can continue to do that. And if it's a 1-star, let us know what you didn't like. Maybe we can fix it. We can change that 1-star to a 5-star. So please go ahead and do that. And like I said already in the middle of the episode, we thank our sponsors, who SeatGeek. Like I said, go to SeatGeek. You can get your first order $20 off by spending $50 or more by using our promo code. So go and do that. FNX Fit, misdemeanor.com. Go check them out. Like I said, they sell out quick, but they always have deals. And just like Fanatics, and speaking of Fanatics, Fanatics always has deals. They're another sponsor. Go check them out. They have like 65% offs, or they will have free shipping. So go check all of those sponsors out. We thank each and every one of those sponsors. We plan on doing, hopefully, like a commercial or something to do that, because we've been itching to do it. So hopefully we get to do that pretty soon for each of these sponsors. So I'm going to throw it over to Cody to kind of finish it off. So Cody, go ahead.
Well, guys, there's not much more to say after what Drew had mentioned. So we appreciate you guys for listening. As Drew had mentioned, shout out to all the partners and our sponsors that are supporting our show. We hope that you guys support them. And again, as what Drew mentioned in the description, special links, discount codes, all that stuff will be linked down below. And we appreciate you guys for being such great folks to us, and we hope that you go show them love. I will also remind everybody too that we do have some Amazon links in our description as well. So we have certain equipment that we're doing this podcast. If you're interested in doing a podcast, the equipment that we use is linked down below to get started. Yes. Ironically, Ethan earlier, who was kind of asking us some questions earlier, he actually asked me yesterday what mics we use, and I gave him the links and the advice. And so, him and Clark are looking to upgrade. So that's kind of exciting. If you guys are looking to do the same, go to the links down below and it's all there. So next week, you guys, obviously we're looking forward to talking with you guys. We'll probably have some more baseball to talk about, more football. No Raiders this week. It's a bye week, but of course we'll be, more than happy to look ahead. So I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. Appreciate you guys for listening to us. And again, don't forget to subscribe, download, like, share, follow, all that good stuff. Everything's in the description below. So can't stress that enough.
Cody, real quick, if the Padres beat the Dodgers in the NLDS, we might have to have From the Backseat podcast on our podcast, because we're gonna have to hear that, man. We're just gonna have to hear that. So, if the Padres do win, I would say definitely watch our show, because I think we're gonna try and get them on for sure.
Oh, yeah. That would be totally fun, especially to get you and Clark. I think we haven't had any other than the home run derby stream. Not all four of us have been on the screen at the same time. So I think that's something that we have to plan out, especially if they advance. I do think so. That's huge. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, guys, we're signing off. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next week.
See you.